JOHS Literacy Bites, where every teacher can become a literacy teacher in 5 minutes or less. Today's topic, Prompt Perfection Part 2, Right Prompt, Right Situation. Today's microlearning session continues our focus on developing quality writing prompts, with a focus on selecting the best form of writing for whatever situation might arise within your instruction. Before we begin today, if you will please do me a favor and complete this 2-question survey. Your responses will help inform the content in upcoming Literacy Bites, so I really appreciate any feedback you're willing to share. Let's review last week's learning. Previously, we learned that the quality of a writing prompt influences the quality of your students' writing. We also learned that effective writing prompts can often be broken into 3 components. Context, which provides background information or a scenario setting the stage for the respondents. A directive, which gives clear instructions for what students should do, including the format of the writing and verbs that indicate the required thinking processes. And finally, qualifiers state expectations for the format, length, structure, style, or any other requirements. Okay, let's help a hypothetical history teacher select an appropriate type of writing for a unique situation in her world history class. Her students are working towards mastery of the state standard about the major causes of the French Revolution. She knows she wants to embed writing within her instruction, but without district resources to draw from, she's struggling to think of the best prompt to use. Let's introduce our history teacher to RAFT, an easy-to-remember acronym for considering how to fashion writing prompts. In RAFT, you consider the role of the writer's audience, the format of the writing, and the topic. The role specifies the persona the student will adopt in the writing. This could be content-specific like a historian, scientist, or literary character. Often by default, the student's role is that of themselves, so they assume a general third-person academic voice. Teachers should consider the writer's audience. When possible, it's helpful to create an audience outside of the teacher, even if this audience is hypothetical, as it provides an added layer of authenticity to the student's work. Format is the type or genre of writing the student will produce. As we'll see in a minute, this is your most important decision when creating a writing prompt. Finally, the topic is the subject of the writing. This is typically derived from the class's current learning objective or essential question. To help our history teacher, let's start with what we know. The topic of the writing, the diverse causes of the French Revolution, is a given because it's aligned with the content standard being addressed. Deciding on the format of the writing, however, is a little trickier. When you create a writing prompt, you need to ensure lack of proficiency in the format doesn't impede students' ability to show mastery of the learning objective being addressed. This doesn't mean that you should limit the formats used in your classroom, just that you should make sure to explicitly teach students the characteristics and structures of a given format before expecting your students to use that genre to express themselves fluently. So here, in this case, our teacher's first impulse is to have her students write an essay. But she hasn't planned her pacing at this point to teach that structure, and she can't guarantee all of her students come into class with the prior knowledge and experience necessary to intuitively explain all they know in an essay. So the teacher thinks through formats that are less rigid. She considers a summary, but doesn't think the format will be of adequate length for students to fully analyze the causes of the French Revolution. She thinks about a narrative retelling and likes the idea, but then decides to push that idea a little bit further with a diary entry, asking her students to adopt the persona of an 18th century French citizen. Once this decision is made, the rest follows easily. A diary entry is written to oneself as the audience, so the student will just have to choose which role they would like to adopt. The teacher comes up with a list of options, including a peasant farmer, seamstress, physician, baker, or an aristocrat. Using the context, directive, qualifiers, 3-step writing process, the teacher takes her work and puts it all together into a writing prompt. Take a second here to review the teacher's final prompt. So in summary, when creating a writing prompt, remember RAFT. Your prompt's topic is typically aligned with your learning objective. Your format should allow for authentic assessment of the learning objective. You may need to explicitly teach the structure of the writing format so students can express the full extent of their understanding. The writing's audience is often the teacher if you've selected a traditional format, but if choosing a more creative approach, the audience could be a real or hypothetical group. Finally, the writer's role, while often being a traditional third-person academic voice, can also be another persona given the writing's format and audience. As a bridge to practice, please discuss these two questions with your colleagues. First, what writing format could be a good fit for incorporating into an upcoming lesson, and why? And second, are there any formats that you haven't used before but would like to try?